La 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 la. Welcome back everyone. Today we're going to add one important part of a platformer, traps. And with the work we did in the last episode, today's episode will be much easier to do. Most of the code is already made and we can use the GameObject superclass for our trap as well. And as a reminder, all of the code and assets can be found on my website or on GitHub. If you have questions about this tutorial, or maybe you get stuck somewhere, check out the Discord link. And if you want to go the extra mile to show your support, there is a link below where you can buy me a coffee. Even though I don't drink coffee, I'm a tea guy. In the last episode, we finally added objects into the game. More specifically, potions and containers with potions inside of it. The episode was split into two parts, where the first part we're mostly focusing on creating the superclass and object manager. In the end of that part, we added some temporary objects just to see if it worked. And it did. In the second part, we dived deeper with our objects. They first had to be placed correctly on the floor. Then with some work on the hitboxes, they could now be destroyed and also drop items. Towards the end of that episode, we added some nice hover effect to our potions. After all of our work, we can now add objects into the game by editing our colors in their level image files. Before we start adding traps to our game, we need to deal with two issues, or two bugs, if you will. The first one is that whenever we are playing the game and we have destroyed a container or a box, we spawn potions. And they get added to our array lists here. And whenever we then reset the level, if we die or if we want to try again, we reset the list. But the potions that get dropped are still in the array list, but they should not be there because we didn't start with them. They got added during the game. So we need to fix that. But when we are dealing with array lists, without going too deep into how they function, let's see where we have it, right here. When we load the objects, our potions and containers, we are calling new level get potions. And if we have the level here, let's drag it to the side. The array list here is the same here. They are actually the same array list, but stored in two different places, if you will. So if we do some changes in this array list, we're doing the same change here. So if we were to clear all the contents inside our array lists on the left side, we would do the same on the right side. And that's something we need to keep in mind. So there's a few ways we can do this. And we will solve this by copying the arrays in the level to the object manager. We will still have the first elements of the arrays in the object manager be the same as the ones in the level arrays. But when we do add elements to our arrays in our object manager, those elements do not get added to the array list in our level arrays. Even though the elements that we copy from our levels array to our object managers arrays are the same. And when we want to reset our game again, we simply do the same copy from our level to our object manager, and we are back to the original size of our arrays. It may sound a little bit complicated, but it's quite easy to do. So in our object manager, we're going to go to our load objects, and instead of just saying potions equal new level get potions, we are going to say, and rather copy that, new array list, like so, and then we're gonna new level dot get potions, and we're gonna do the same for our container. So list get containers, perfect. And when we reset it all, before all of that, we're gonna say load objects playing, so we get the new level, get level manager we don't have, so let's add a getter to that at the bottom of our playing class. Public level manager get level manager return level manager, like so. And now get level manager get current level, and that's all we needed. So we can actually add a susu here. Size of arrays before we reset it. Potions.size plus containers or plus containers.size. And then we copy that and put it at the bottom here after. So let's give it a try and see the difference. There is no clear difference right now. Let's not kill the enemy because we don't want to finish the game. So I pick them up, I destroy, and I destroy. So if I were to reset, let's take a look in our console here. Before we reset it, we had 5 potions in the list and 3 objects. And then we have now 2 and 3 again. And that's what we need to do to make sure that our array lists don't get bigger and bigger every time we reset the level or reset the game. So then we can just remove this and we can move on to the second issue at hand. And the second issue we need to fix is going to go much faster. And that's just something I discovered today, is when we destroy an object and we spam attack, we are spawning as many potions as we can throughout the animation. So you can see there's a lot of potion that got spawned each time I attack, as long as it is animating. And that's because when we do spawn a potion in this method here in ObjectManager, we're first going through our containers. Is it active? Is the hitbox intersecting the player's attack box? If it is, then of course, drop a new potion. But it's still active even though it's started to animate. But once it started to animate, we don't want it to be able to get destroyed again and drop yet another potion. So all we have to do is to add a and GC is, or rather do animation. Is it doing the animation? Or rather, is it not doing the animation? So first we make sure it's active, and then we make sure it's not already in an animation, meaning it's already about to get deactivated. So let's give this a try. Just 1 potion per barrel or box. Perfect. Now we can start working with the trap. And just like before, if we do need a new object or enemy or whatever, we need some art for it, some image. And the image I chose is this one. And it's 32 by 32. So it's going to be rather simple to add. But we do need to drag it and drop it in our res folder. And because we added a new image, we need to go to our load and save. And in our load and save, we add yet another string. And let's call it trap atlas. And it was called, let's see, trap atlas. Now we have our trap atlas in our res folder and we can start working with it. Now with that taken care of, let's go to our object package and create a new class. And let's call this one spike, because it's a spike we're going to add today. And we're gonna extend a game object. And then of course we need to add a constructor, like so. And we're gonna deal with object type value later. I think it's gonna be the value 4. So yeah, let's put that aside for now. And then we need to initialize the hitbox for this one. Because if the player hits the spikes, he dies. So init hitbox. And it's 32 by 16. So the spikes are the same size in width, but half the size in height when it comes to the hitbox. And therefore x draw offset will be equal to 0. Y draw offset will be int game.scale times 16. And of course, as I mentioned before, to get it look correctly, we need to hitbox.y plus equal y draw offset, just like we did with our potion, maybe not, but at least with our containers to get them to fit perfectly on the bottom of the floor. And that's all the work we need to do in our spike class. And with this spike class, we can now add a spike array in our level class. So let's just copy one and call this one spike and spikes. And I most likely need to import it. Yes, I will. And our spikes will be below here. Create spikes. Just like we did with the potion and containers and everything. It's pretty much the same. Spikes equals help methods.get spikes. But we don't have this method yet, so it's going to be red. But we can create it like so. And we are going to copy all of this in here. Make sure that the array list is a spike. Making sure the list is of spike type. If value is equal to box, no. If value is equal to spike, which we will add soon. And if that's the case, we add a new spike, and the value is not that, but will be a spike integer. And we're gonna get to this in a second. It's gonna be in our constant class, just like the box, barrel, potions, and whatnot. I think we're gonna jump there right now, so we don't get any confusion. And in the object constant class, we add a public static final int spike equals 4. So if I save now, we should have no errors. Help methods, it started to recognize it. Object manager, no, but level, right? Yeah, no errors in level, perfect. But we do need to care about the width and draw width for our spike. And I have it on my second window or second screen here. So I'm just gonna copy paste. The sprite is 32 by 32. And then we just scale it by game.scale. Just like we've done with everything else. So that's why I don't think we need to go over this yet again. And before we are completely done in our level class here, we need to add a public array list spike get spikes. Return spikes. Like so. So now we can load our spike array from our level image, which is nice. And next up will be to add the code we need for it to work in our object manager. So first, let's just create the array list up here as well. And spike type and spikes, right? Yeah. Let's work on the method where we check if the player touch a spike at the end. Let's just get it to be visible first, and then we can work on the functions of it. And in our load objects class, we call spikes equals new level dot get spikes. And we don't need to make a copy like we do here, because we will never reset the spikes and there will not be any spikes just spawning during the game. So they will be static, they won't even animate. They will just be there. So there's no need to reset them or check if they're active or anything like that. So spikes equals new level dot get spikes is good enough for us here. And to get the image for our spikes, first we actually need an image. And we will not need a buffered image array. We will actually just need a private buffered image. Spike image. I think that's all we need. We just need a image and not a image array. Equals load save. Get sprite atlas, what is called? Trap, no, load save dot trap atlas. We don't care about update, but we do care about draw traps, gx level offset. And let's just create that method like so. For trap, no, spike s, spikes, g.draw image, spike image, s.get hitbox. There was no x offset in our spike. It's 0, so we don't have to worry about that. But we do have x level offset, so minus x level offset. And of course, we need to recast this over to an integer because it's in float. And why are you complaining? Hitbox.x, of course. But for y, we have s.get hitbox.y minus s.get y draw offset. For width, we have spike width, and then for height, we have spike height. And I think that's all in there. Good. Reset all objects. We don't care about that at all. But what happens if the player now touches a spike? Let's create a method for that. So at our top here, just above our object touched, public void check player, or rather check spikes touched. Yeah, that's the best name I can come up with, as long as we know what it is doing. We need a hitbox, the entire player hitbox, and then we just loop through. For spike s, spikes, if s dot get hitbox dot intersects hitbox, player is now touching the spikes and he should die. Yeah, that's not what we want. We don't want the hitbox, we actually want the player, because we need to call a method in the player. So let's import the player class, and instead of hitbox we say p get hitbox. And then we can say p.kill. So we kill the player if he touches one of the spikes. Create the method kill, yeah. Let's grab this and move it. We could have used, let's see, change health, but that's just add or remove. But let's actually put the kill method here. And it's gonna be a very simple one. Current health equals 0. Done. And I don't think there's much more to do. Oh, yes there is. In the update method here for the player, whenever we're moving, we want to check if we are touching a potion, of course. But we also need to check spikes touched. And then we create this method, and I think it's going to be right above, yes. And we just call playing.check spikes touched. And we pass in this as player object. Create the method in type yeah. And it's not player 2, it's player p. So ObjectManager.check spikes touched player. But do I actually want it at the bottom? No. Where do we have the other one for? Here we have object. Check object hit. Yeah, right underneath here. I think it's a good place to have it. All right. I think that is all the code we need. And all we have to do now is to add those spikes in our level files. So let's do that. So here we have our first level, second level, and the third level. Let's just grab the pencil and let's find a color for our objects. There we have number 2, number 3. Actually, let's select this color. And we have 11 in red, meaning that's transparent in the level. But let's change this one, the blue one, to a 4. Oops, and then just add 3 spikes there. Let's add a spike there for a second level. And the third level, let's add one right there and right there. And then of course overwrite, meaning saving them. Let's go to our Eclipse, refresh our project, and if we don't have any errors, hopefully, it's gonna run. Yeah, and we have our spikes there, we can see them. Let's see what happens if I fall down. I died. Game over. Press escape to enter main menu. How about that? And they will work again, I think. Yes, they do. Let's see if we have spikes in the other levels as well. We have 1 spike there. I think we added a few more, like 1 more. Yeah, there we have 1. All right. Let's see what happens on the third level. And I died. All right, moment of truth. Third level, and we have 1 spike there and 1 in the corner. Beautiful. So we have functioning spikes in our game, or traps rather. Perfect. So that was another episode completed. Having traps is a big part of most platformer games. And now we have that. By using much of the code from our previous episode, we saved a lot of time today. Our spikes will not use all of the methods and variables in our superclass GameObject, but that's okay. If we need to add more functionality to our GameObject that is not used by the spikes, we can always add a new superclass for just our traps. But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. If you like this episode, consider subscribing and liking the video. It's a great way of helping the channel grow. Now my friends, take care and I hope to see you in the next episode as well. Bye.
But if I lay down and I play dead and I stay dead, baby, you'll